there's a place that I've dreamed of, where I can free my mind. I hear the sounds of the season and lose all sense of time. Feels like we're in a dream, you know what I mean.
Right there, Camp McIntosh.
Yes, indeed, Mike. Yes, indeed, Camp McIntosh. And for those who are still interested in becoming a participant or just joining us up at one of our 2 retreats that we're going to be having this year, one is of course, at Horwood Lake Lodge, and this one is at Camp Mac. I have some really cool news to share. First and foremost, good evening. Thanks for joining us as you guys are trickling in. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. We will be talking a little bit about Mother's Day, but may I now please say happy belated Mother's Day to all you CFNers that are joining us, that have brought some incredible people into the world or helped bring some great people into the world. Without some of the folks that are an integral part of this show, this community, and what we do in terms of our events and our platform, there's a lot of you out there we have to thank. So let me just take this opportunity to thank all the moms out there for doing what you needed to do to allow this all to happen. From the bottom of our hearts, thanks so much. Let's see who's with us tonight. We got Stephen. How you doing, buddy? Nice to have you along. Tony's in the house. Tony, as I said, the skill testing question, as Steve mentioned to you, is going to be at the end. So pay attention when Jay is on. He might give you a hint. He might not. He already has them down. I don't even know what the question is, so you'll have to play along with us. But we have a bit of an announcement to talk about last week's winner. Very, very cool story if you didn't see it on CFN. So we'll Jay and I will talk about that. It's pretty cool. Terry's in the house. Nice to see you were out fishing. Terry, I saw you and the Bealers got out in the water, caught some beautiful walleye. Rob's in the house. How you doing? It is the Bionic Man. How you doing, Rob? Nice to have you along as well. Jeremy, holy smokes, man. You are like the Richard Dunlop two, as we call him. Richard is the #1 share of all of our content. We can't thank him enough, but I'm telling you, you are making strides, and I would have to say the two of you are neck and neck. Very much appreciate it, pal. Getting our message out there with all the events and all the stuff that we want to promote. We need folks like you. You're an integral part of this machine. So we want to thank you for that. And of course, there he is, the one and only Richard Dunlop. We will be mentioning something, Richard, that you're going to want to chime into as well. Ed, always a pleasure to have you along, pal. Nice to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Jeremy's in the house. How you doing, Jeremy? Nice to have you. Yep, share it up. There's the man right there. The man that has cometh, and he is made a statement. Mark's in the house. I got my boat out of storage today, and it's all primed and ready to go for and I'm telling you, Mother Nature has done us. Well, I should knock on wood. I shouldn't jinx it. You're right. I shouldn't even talk about it, but it looks like it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful weekend. May long weekend this weekend. So get out and enjoy it. That's for darn sure. How you doing, Nicole? Always a pleasure to have you along as well. As I said, you are the yin to Terry's yang. How you doing, Andrew? Nice to have you as well. Cool edit. Now I know Walter and Steve would mention this. When we see this as your profile pic for either Facebook or Instagram, thank you, Andrew. That looks awesome. Nice to have you along. George in the house. I bought my wife a new fishing rod for Mother's Day. She's still speechless. Wow. Is it because it was a Berkeley, or was it because it was a Shimano and too expensive? Was it an ugly stick? Can you give us a little information as to why? Was this a pinnacle buy? Was this a big? Was this better than a trip to the Caribbean? Was this better than a lazy boy or a back massage or a day in the spa? Like, what kind of rod we're talking about, George, to make her speechless? I'm interested. It is cool, though. That's awesome. Nick's in the house. Nice to have you along. Jeremy, for the time that you're able to share with us. We thank you so much for joining us as you do. There's Captain Kevin. Holy smokes. Nice to have you along, Cap. Always a pleasure to have you. I love your posts, your good morning posts. Those are always awesome to see. Jesse, if I was any better, I'd be you. Nice to have you along, pal. Fishing, Northern Ontario, Canada. Always a pleasure to have you. Yes, an ugly stick for the wife. Are we still talking about? Never mind. Eve, how you doing, pal? Nice to see that you got out as well, or at least it seemed like you got out on the weekend. No, just talking. Well, okay, right on. Wow. George, man, I'll tell you, I love your wit, buddy. Absolutely love your wit. You went to Mall, got her a Barbie. Oh, wow, cheeky. What a cheeky bunch. Yeah, I got a notification reminder. Thank you so much, Sonia. And we do have a message that you're going to appreciate as well. Ivano has asked us to do something. We're going to be posting it after the live, just as a reminder, but I wanted to mention it sort of in our live tonight, because I think it's a great message and a reminder of how we need to treat our resources. But first and foremost, there is so much to go through. And at the end of the day, folks, it doesn't matter if we get 10,000 views or if we get 10. Folks, they send us information that they want to get out there. And I take it as a compliment, simply because, when it comes to live podcasts, I think we're one of few that are still doing it. As much as you guys haven't gotten sick of me, and maybe it's just because we got Jay, Jim, and Lawrence, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But at the end of the day, we do appreciate the fact that we are becoming the voice of, a small voice in the Canadian fishing community. And when it comes to announcing certain things, people are leaning on us to do that. So I really appreciate that. And I'm going to start right off the bat with Kayak Bass Canada. Aaron Dodds wanted me to mention this. Of course, it is Chio time. And this is actually really cool. This is a chance to win one of two kayaks. The second will be at the Chio tournament. Tickets are now for sale to win a 2026 Bonafide kayak, SKF 117. Now, for you in the kayak community, you probably know exactly what that is, and you're all excited. To me, it sounds pretty sexy, but I really don't know what that is. But let's just say, will it hold my fat arse? That's the only thing I be concerned about. Whoa, the value! Oh, just under $1,800. Incredible. Draw starts now. It's open to the public, and the winner will be named July 18th at our 6th annual benefit event for Chio at the White Lake Marina. Hoping to get up there again this year. So tell your friends, families, quote, anyone can enter to win this kayak. 100% of the proceeds go directly to Chio in honor of Kayak Fishing Life 6th annual benefit event for Chio. We will have a separate additional kayak to draw for on tournament day, reserved only for registered anglers. Well, that's pretty cool too. Event attendees, that's 2 chances to win. If you attend, if you sign up, tickets are $40, no limit per person. Anyone over 18 can enter. You don't have to be a kayak angler. E-transfer your payment to Kayak Bass Canada, jb@gmail.com. And that would be Jason Brock, and include your name and phone number. Draw will be held July 18th, as mentioned. Canadian residents only. There you go. We got some exclusivity. Yeah, baby. Good stuff here. And good luck to all, as Jason, Aaron, and the entire Kayak Bass Canada team are doing some wonderful things for Chio. Because at the end of the day, it is all about the kids, and they raised over $40,000. We are going to be putting something together for them for this event. It is a dry suit that was donated to me. I've never really had any means to get rid of it, so I can't think of a better way to do it. It's got some value to it too, so hopefully we can raise some serious cake for those at Kayak Bass Canada. Yeah, people just want to hang. You're 100% right. Best tournament of the season, Jeremy. It is a lot of fun. Last year was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed being there. It is a great cause, Mark. Good call. Also, I wanted to mention, of course, because Richard's here, folks, if you are looking to share in the swag, we'd love to throw it on your back. We are proud to say that we have sold a bunch of these. CFN jerseys are also still available. I know the website is still being upgraded, And I believe that the folks out there at Premier are getting it done. I know Walt will let us know when it is done and available. But until then, these are available now. All you have to do is PM our good buddy Richard Dunlop, and please PM him so he has something to do, so us legacy members can get work done during the day. Because sometimes he can eat up the chat with all kinds of links and things for us to see. So yeah, keep him busy. We'd love it. We'd love if you could keep him busy. Steve, not able to stay too long. Hope you all had a fantastic week. Yep, absolutely, Stephen. Thanks so much. He is extremely busy right now doing edits, because I have been watching the inbox, especially today. It's extremely busy. Thank you so much for all that do bring your photos to our inbox and have them done up for, whether it's Steve, whether it's Walt, whether it's me. We really appreciate that. But at the end of the day, if you do have a cool fish pic to share, we'd love to see it. So as I said, if you're looking for one of these, PM our good buddy Richard Dunlop. All right, a couple other things we want to get to while we're at it. When it comes to the CFN retreats, and I should have probably led with this, we have this fantastic announcement. I want to thank Captain Jim Wilson from fishhawk.net. If you haven't seen the post, it was posted today just below, in the timeline, just below this. Jim has offered up a charter for all those who attend a CFN retreat, whether it's at Horwood, whether it's at Camp Mac, either one. If you are a paid guest and attend, we are going to spin the wheel after all the retreats are done to find out who is the winner of this exclusive opportunity. And I want to thank Jim Wilson for stepping up and offering it, because, as I said, you have to come. Yeah, you have to participate in order to win. And I'm going to assume Jim can't win his prize, because I know he's coming up to Oro with us. But anyway, yes, this is really cool. We do have another announcement on top of that, which is also very, very cool and a great opportunity. But we will save that for next Monday. But as of right now, if you have not signed up, please make sure you do so. There are 2 beds available at Horwood, and there I believe it's nine beds at Camp Mac. So don't delay. It's going to go fast. As the weather starts to warm up, it's going to get busy. It's going to get really busy, and people are going to want to do stuff. So, yeah, get out there and make sure you get yourself signed up. All right. The Conquer Challenge is happening, and it starts on May 30th. We are signing people up left, right, and center. Thanks for all those who have already signed up. But I also wanted to take time because our good buddy Mike Consul, who could not make it with us tonight, still had time to prepare this. Have a listen.
All right, I'm in the car. Can't join you tonight, but I want to let you know about the Shimano Compre Conquer Challenge. It's actually the Compre Conquer All challenges. What are you conquering? You're conquering 7 different panfish. The tagline of the event is small fish, big prizes. And what are those big prizes? Well, there are a ton of the 2026 new Compre line rods. You can win one of those. On top of that, with a Compre, you can win a Mirabelle. Or with your Compre, you can also win a Vanford. And all you got to do, it's free. All you got to do is catch one of those 17 panfish. And the thing is, if you catch one panfish, that's 1 ballot into one of our Compre draws. If you catch 2 panfish, that's 2 ballots. It could be 2 perch, or it could be 1 perch and 1 sunfish. It doesn't matter. But you're allowed to catch 12 ballots, 12 catches, 12 entries every single day. So within the month of June, you can catch 12 different fish every single day. It's actually a little bit longer than June. It's May 30th, so you can start on a Saturday, and then all the way to July 1st, so that you could fish. Since you're going to be off anyways fishing, you might as well put in a ballot on Canada Day. So catch as many panfish as you can, and there's different types of panfish across any province. So it doesn't matter if you're in Newfoundland or all the way to BC or somewhere in between. We made sure there is a small fish that you can catch so you can win some big Shimano prizes. If you want to register, go to cfnfishoff.com. It's free. If you're fishing anyways, you might as well enter, because that new Shimano Compre, oh man, it is amazing. Go check it out. CFNfishoff.com. Register today.
Thanks, Mike, for doing that. Really appreciate you stepping up, even though I know you're busy. You've got lots on the go. But, of course, Mike is definitely talking about these. We are going to be giving away the Compre Walleye Edition. It's not the LTE, it's the Walleye Edition, which is even a step up from the LTE. It is a phenomenal rod. Lloyd Bront had the pleasure of using one at Camp Mac. You know already, pal, how good they are. So yes, we're going to be giving 5 random rods away. And also we are going to have the video draw. So if you say, I caught this perch, this sunfish, this ocean perch with my Shimano product, my Shimano Compre rod, if you already have one, we're going to be giving away a Compre rod and a Miraval reel. So that's just a video draw. Of course, we will explain all that in the coming days and weeks, Mike and I, in regards to how you could qualify. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns, we will make sure to get those answered. And of course, the Hero Shot, which is just a Shimano product. It could be a knife, could be a hat, could be a shirt, could be anything. If it says Shimano on it, and it is a Shimano product, a legit Shimano product, just put that in your post and you will qualify for the Hero Shot, which is not only a Compre rod, but a Vanford reel. So again, May 30th is when it starts. So you're going to want to get signed up as quick as possible. And the way to do that, and let me get to the banner so that you know exactly where you're going. This is where you have to go, www.cfnfishoff.com. The reason we have to go this route right now is we are hoping midweek that it is uploaded to Anglers Atlas and the MyCatch app, but it is not as of right now. And we just want to make sure that we get everybody signed up. We don't lose anybody along the way. So if you are eager like us and chomping at the bit, by all means, go over to www.cfnfishoff.com, get signed up so we can get you registered ASAP. That's all for announcements that I have. So let us now digress and move on to our beloved panel. We want to wish our good buddy Big Jim, who unfortunately has a case of food poisoning and has been up all night, has been doing some, I think he's been redecorating the bathroom for what he's telling me. He can't go anywhere without a bucket. So, Jim, we're hoping for a speedy recovery for you. Totally understand why you have to take off the night. Totally understandable what we're thinking of you, pal. And, of course, tonight's show has been sponsored by our one and only, and I would say it's probably our longest-standing sponsor, Ugli Boys Baits. They've been around since inception, and they have always supported us. So we've got Lawrence Gunther coming up right after a message from Ugli Boys Baits. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Nice to have you along with us tonight, Lawrence. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, buddy. I'm doing well. Yeah. Sorry I missed last Monday. I had an MBA course at Ottawa U. They're starting up for the summer term, and we're looking for. We've been invited to take on a group of 5 MBA students to help us with developing business plans and marketing plans for our programs at Bluefish Canada. So I had to do a pitch. It was like Dragon's Den, man. There was me and like 6 or 7 other charities. We all had 5 minutes to pitch to the class. And I did well, I think, because the next morning I had like 6-7 people in the course who wanted to volunteer and get involved. So it worked out.
Wow. I didn't know you were recruiting.
I know, right? Neither did I. Now, Ottawa, you reached out. They reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in taking on some of our students for the summer? Not full time, but for a project, oversee the project." So we got 2 projects going with them.
Wow, that's
Mhm.
amazing, dude.
Mhm.
Holy smokes. Huh. We always knew you were an important person, but this just solidifies it. Well, that's pretty cool. And have you made any decisions as of right now, or are we?
Oh yeah. We got one group. We got one group picked already, and they were notified this morning. The 6 students that will be working with us on the Bluefish Center,
Yeah.
and we've got 2 volunteers that are going to work on a slightly different, not a project, but individually for the on the Bluefish Explorer program and doing some marketing for us.
Oh, well, that is freaking cool, bud. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Very, very cool. Well, listen, I don't know where you want to start, but I will let you steer the ship. But
Okay.
at the end of the day, there is a lot to talk about, and I know that we have some concerns in regards to what's going on both our side of the border as well as on the American side.
Yeah.
And it all comes to
Yeah.
who's eligible, who's entitled, and who's going to make the ultimate decision when it comes to recreational fishing, commercial fishing, and of course our First Nation fishing. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It was an article that was shared to me, and I will share this now. Obviously, it was in regards to what's going on in Wisconsin, and tribal leaders have basically they look to ban anglers in Wisconsin from keeping walleye and muskie on 19 reservation lakes. So I'm going to assume, Lawrence, that these are 19 lakes that either have shoreline or border some of the lakes in the state of Wisconsin. The
Well, if
lack.
you're looking at me to verify that the map, you're looking at the wrong guy.
No. No.
But I think you're
You
right.
brought
Yeah,
your wit tonight. You brought your wit tonight. No, this is. I'm going to assume just based because on it wasn't
Mhm.
exactly explained, but I'm going to want to assume that that's what it is. The Lac de Flambeau Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians passed emergency resolutions this spring that would prohibit non-tribal anglers from harvesting walleye and muskie on lakes within reservation boundaries.
Within,
The tribe
so
also.
I guess, within.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, within, I guess. So that means
Yeah.
probably like that fall 100% within their boundaries, right?
Okay, so
But I don't
100%.
know. I don't know. It doesn't matter really because
Yeah.
that's a technicality. The fact is, there's 18 lakes that you can't go fishing on anymore for walleye or muskie. Or that's the proposal, anyways. That's the
Yeah.
proposal. Yeah.
So the tribe also moved to restrict methods such as forward trolling and forward-facing sonar for non-members. Interesting.
Yeah.
Tribal officials said the measures were necessary because fisheries surveys showed declining walleye and muskie populations in some lakes. They also argued the tribe has sovereign authority to protect fisheries resources within reservation boundaries. The state of Wisconsin filed a lawsuit challenging the restrictions, arguing the tribe does not have authority to regulate non-tribal anglers on navigable waters under state and federal law. Just before the Wisconsin fishing opener, a federal judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking the tribe from enforcing the regulations while the case proceeds through court. For now, Wisconsin anglers can continue fishing under existing state regulations. The case is expected to continue later this month and could have major implications for tribal authority, state management powers, and public fishing access in Wisconsin. The underlying, I guess the underlying message that, and this is why I thought it was important that we talk about it, is this can start a very dangerous and horrific precedent. At the end of the day, I think there's this going on. We've got this, I don't know, confrontation going on right now. I know there's other areas in Canada. This is down in the States, but precedent can be across North America and the world when it comes to the legal system. And I think we should be paying close attention to it. I want to congratulate Wisconsin anglers because they had a concern about fishing for muskie too early, and they lobbied their DNR down there, and they were able to have that reversed. So I'd like to say Wisconsin anglers have, some pretty thick skin in the game, and hold a little bit of clout because they were able to change that. Although this is in the courts, I don't know if it's going to be that easy. I don't want to turn this into, let's put a hate on First Nations. That's not what this is about.
No.
But I think it is something that we do have to pay attention to, because we have certainly heard it on our West Coast. We heard it as close as Rice Lake, concerns about, treaty land and how it's going to be dealt with and controlled. And you're going to talk about what's going on the East Coast. So with that being said, where do you want to start?
Well, I think, in Canada's situation, we have a little more clarity when it comes to these sort of decisions. And that stems back to legal decisions reached in the Supreme Court in 1993 with the Donald Marshall case around his harvesting of American eels or glass eels. He didn't have a license. He got caught. He was fined. He took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and they said, you have a right to make a moderate livelihood. So that was the first time we heard of moderate livelihood. Then there was another case in 2000 around lobster fishing, where this was again brought up by some indigenous fishers, indigenous communities on the East Coast of Canada, where they said, hey, we want to fish lobster just like other people. And they started fishing, and there was fires and people were being run over and people being killed. It got pretty messy out there. Burnt Church, that's the name of the community out there in 2000. And now we see this again on the East Coast, and where it's happening again in the last couple of years, both in the glass eel fishery and indigenous participation in that, and the lobster fishery. And we have the Supreme Court decision that says, and the way it was interpreted by the Supreme Court and the way DFO is implementing it, is that if there's a conservation issue, then the DFO has overarching control over any fishing that goes on in any navigable waters that DFO has authority over. So that excludes, bodies of water, I guess, that fall under provincial jurisdiction, but any national navigable waters. So that's all your coastlines and St. Lawrence and Great Lakes and so on. And they have ultimate authority to say, look, okay, if there's a conservation issue and we have to restrict fishing, they're going to restrict commercial fishing. They're going to restrict recreational fishing. And when they say commercial, that includes indigenous commercial and non-indigenous commercial. And then the last thing that they would shut down is the FSC, the food, social, and ceremonial fishery, which is participated in by indigenous people for exactly that, for food, for social, for community events, and for ceremony, for religious, their spiritual ceremonies. And if it's absolutely necessary, the DFO can shut that down as well. But, we also see instances now across Canada where, some indigenous communities don't want to combine, they don't want to be governed by DFO rules. You see that on the East Coast. You see a bunch of First Nation communities that said, okay, we'll comply with that. If you give us some lobster licenses to help us get into the trade, and we'll follow the rules. We'll fish during the seasons. We'll keep the lobster that we're allowed to keep. We'll use the number of nets we're allowed to use, the traps. And, there's no real quotas on the East Coast for the lobster fishery. They just have seasons, very short seasons that move around. And that's how they control how many lobster are entering the marketplace, so it doesn't crash the price. But there's 2 or 3 indigenous communities on the East Coast of Canada that say, you know what, we don't want to follow any rules. We don't want to follow your rules. We don't have to follow your rules. The court decision says, we have a right to make a moderate livelihood. And the treaties that we signed before Canada was even a country said, we have full right to hunt and fish on our traditional lands. And that's what we're doing here. And we'll go lobster fishing when we feel like it. We'll, catch as many lobsters as we want. And we'll sell those lobster, and you can't govern us. And so we see that happening on the East Coast. with DFO being challenged that way. We see, in Canada, in the middle of Canada, you see the walleye fishery on Lake Nipissing, a super important recreational fishery for non-Indigenous people, and a super important commercial fishery for 2 First Nations communities on Lake Nipissing. And this is provincial jurisdiction, so M&R has to say who gets to fish and who gets to keep. They have to work with the Indigenous communities and work with them. They can't tell them when they can go fishing for walleye. They can't tell them what nets they can use. They can't tell them what size fish they're allowed to keep and how many they're allowed to keep. They can only work with the communities to help them, give them the information and know-how and maybe, some advice, and they make their own decisions. They make their decisions on that commercial fishery. And then M&R, regulates the recreational fishing on that same lake. And you see changes have been made, and walleye populations are being utilized. I don't know to what extent, but certainly utilized to a large extent, more than ever before. So you see that happening there. You see it happening in different parts of Canada where, First Nations communities and Inuit communities have said, "Oh, we don't want this is our special lake, and we don't want you coming on here." We saw this last year in a provincial park in British Columbia, just north of Vancouver, a very, very popular provincial park, would have 200,000 to 300,000 visitors every season. And the Indigenous community said, "You know what? There's too much pressure, too much, people. This territory, this park needs to rest." So they carved out, I think, a couple months in the spring, April, May, and a couple months in the fall, and in September, October, where visitors to the park were not permitted, other than Indigenous, hunters and fishers and gatherers were permitted. And that really rankled people, that said, "Hey, what do you mean we can't go to that park anymore? That's that's a provincial park. Now we're being shut out." So these types of decisions, it's not black and white. Like, it's not absolutely clear who's calling the shots. And it's not absolutely clear if the shots are being called for conservation reasons that are being transparently determined and implemented. And I think people are worried, right, that this is becoming more political than maybe it should be, and it should be more science-based. Canada's been, like many countries, we've been wrestling with managing our fisheries, and we want them to be, precautionary based on best science. And so it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
It is. And, I will say, because there's a bunch of things that I want to bring up here.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I think it's very important to share this. I'm very proud of some card-bearing CFNers that we have that are part of the First Nations community, and follow the rules as if they were not part of the First Nations community, as if they were like you and I, like part of the white community. With that being said, I think they would also feel a sense of wanting to follow, what was right. And if the M&R DFO were to come in and say that an area was under stress, populations were down, that they would have no problem adhering to a fishing ban, or at least a closure, or perhaps maybe just a reduction, depending on whatever is decided.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, of course, I can see where the confrontation is going to start, because, well, if it's closed to us, it should be closed to everybody. And unfortunately, this is where, the fight starts, if you will. That fight, in my opinion, exists not because people want to lay claim necessarily over something that they feel entitled to, but could it be suggested that it all starts with leadership? And I'm not trying to turn this into a political mudslinging session, but when you don't have strong leadership, there's that sense of uncertainty. And why now is it becoming so apparent and coming to the forefront? Is it just because of social media? Has this always happened, and we're just seeing it come to light now because of all the news agencies that we have that are available to us? Like, help me understand, Lawrence.
Yeah. You know what? It's
big issue.
for like, a long time, indigenous people were shut out of a lot of fisheries, right? Commercial and otherwise, they just weren't allowed. They weren't welcome.
Okay.
And then now they've won these court decisions, and they have these treaties, in many parts of Canada, and they have rights, land decisions being made in British Columbia where there are no treaties, and they're getting their land rights restored. So there's, in some sense, they're saying, what, we've been patient, but now our patience are running thin, and in reconciliation, we want action now, and we want to make up for past injustices. But, like right now in British Columbia, this is being a big problem out there too, is DFOs changing a policy that's been in place for over 25 years, where they talk about salmon as a common property, commonly held property, which means it's held by the commons, which is it means it belongs to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And there's pressure on DFO to take that language out, because that's settler language, right? It's not the crown, it's not the common property, it's fish. They live in the wild. They're just fish in the wild, and what rivers they run up and what territories they cross over, that's in the end who they belong to. And you see a lot of very heated battles now amongst First Nations communities on the West Coast over the resources, because a lot of the territories overlap, and their claims of territories overlap. And so whose fish are they? So that's being, that's happening between communities, First Nations communities, and then between First Nations communities and non-Indigenous, as commoners in Canada who we have a constitution, and we believe that the Crown governs the resources and they belong to us, but we turn it over to the government to govern them, and then they decide who gets to fish and when and where. And we privately, personally don't own the fish, but we have to respect the rules on how we can fish and when we can fish and whether or not we can keep fish. We don't have that type of rights, where it's just say, okay, here, Oshawa, you control your fish. All these fish belong to the city of Oshawa. Do what you think. We don't. That's not how it's happening in non-Indigenous communities. So we have two different systems, right?
Yeah.
And that's causing tension. It's causing a lot of tension. I don't know. The racist card. Look, let's not pretend there's no racism in Canada. We have racist issues, and that's been going on for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
If you look back at, we all know about apartheid in South Africa. When the South African government was looking at setting up a system to, put black African people and round them up and put them into communities, they came to Canada and researched our system of reservations, and they borrowed from our system and learned from our systems of reservations, and they implemented that, and that became apartheid in South Africa. So, we're not 100% innocent when it comes to this sort of stuff. So
that's for
we've
sure.
got some redress to do for sure. But how is this going to all pan out? How is this all going to work so that, especially like on the East Coast of Canada, like there's an example, right? You have a lobster fishery in decline. That's the only really substantial fishery left in Eastern Canada. It's worth about $1.4 billion in the United States. In Canada, the lobster fishery is worth 3 times that, and it's worth more than all the other fisheries combined on the East Coast. All the other fisheries combined, it's the lobster fishery is worth more than that, and it's in decline. There's no limits. You just have seasons. You have, but there's no limits. You have sizes, and females have to be returned, but there's no limits. And people are fishing and fishing and fishing lobsters, and the numbers are going down and down. And partly it has to do too with turns out the ocean, a little bit of warming in the ocean, and the lobsters can't take it. They can't take it. So the the lobsters off the coast of the United States, lobster fishing there is horrific, but the lobster fishing in parts of Canada moving north is getting better and better in some areas. So that's all happening at the same time. But a lot of people are losing their investments. It costs $1 million to buy a boat and a license on the east coast of Canada. That's a big mortgage to pay. That's a lot of lobster. So there's a lot of people, a lot of tension, a lot of high feelings, and then people want to, in on the action. I don't know, man. This is none of this stuff's going to get worked out overnight. That's for sure. But would you have Indigenous communities just like in northern Manitoba say, hey, no one can come up here and hunt anymore, or no one can come over here? The weird thing in Wisconsin, most of those fish they're talking about are all hatchery raised. The muskie and the walleye, they're mostly all hatchery raised. So that's put and take fisheries, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're right. Of course, it's trying to compare apples to oranges when it comes to that kind of scenario. I just my biggest I don't know why, and I know it's always been there. Obviously, both parties, whether it's the recreational anglers, First Nations, as well as commercial anglers, everybody's got to have a voice, and everybody has to listen. But at the end of the day, if the MNR are the governing body when it comes to how we look after our fisheries, how we manage our fisheries, like it seems to me that First Nations have a bit of a trump card, and what does that inevitably mean? Like at the end of the day, there could be all kinds of rulings that come down, whether it be court appointed or MNR, and it doesn't necessarily have to be followed. Am I right to assume that?
You see, on DFO regulated fisheries, the DFO says we have control. We call the shots. We ultimately call the shots. And if we say all fishing has to end, then all fishing has to end, right? You see it out on the Yukon River, up in one of the longest rivers in the world. No one's been able to catch salmon in that river. Chinook and Coho, and no one. Indigenous or not, American or Canadian, both governments have decided no one's catching Chinook and Coho out of this river. And that's going on for year after year after year. And that includes a lot of Indigenous and tribal communities on the American and Canadian borders on that river. So, you see compliance there. But you hear about, the Fraser River and all the gill nets that are being illegally placed in there, illegally, quote unquote, illegally, in that they don't have commercial fishing licenses from DFO, but First Nations fishers are putting nets in there and fishing. And then the DFO comes and takes them out and drops them off. And 2 days later, they're back in the water. There's lip service and, people avoiding arguments and confrontations. And
so if they were to come to you, Lawrence,
and
they were to ask, listen, we're in a bit of a pickle here, and if we don't get ahead of this could go south in a big hurry.
Yeah.
What kind of recommendations would you be making?
I look at what Port Alberni does, where they have a round table, and it normally works well, where they say, hey, look, we got an estimated 800,000 sockeye in the Port Alberni inlet, and they're moving up through. We need to let these go through because we haven't had any go through yet this year. So everyone agrees, okay, let's let these go through. And then the next pulse of sockeye come in, they say, okay, we've got enough that made it through, more than enough to do a successful spawn in all the tributaries. So these ones can be caught. Okay, let's decide who catches which. And the commercial, the recreational outfitters, all that, tourism, and the First Nations communities are sitting around the table, and DFO basically takes notes. They're supposed to be in charge, but they're taking notes at that point. And saying, okay, everyone's in agreement, then that's what we'll do. And it seems to be working out most of the time. And I think as long as there's transparency, it seems to be working. It's not perfect, and there's people trying to play around the edges and trying to work things to their own benefit. That seems to be happening too, because it's not, I guess it's not fully endorsed, but you see it in the States where the communities sit down together and make these decisions together up and down the coast of the United States, and it seems to be working well. I think we need to do more of that, right? Where the decisions aren't made in Ottawa in a tower by a bureaucrat who works for a minister who's elected by a certain party and who wants to get an election, win at the next election. They see that happening all the time, right? That happened way too often.
Yeah, and that goes back to my comment about, is it because of the mistrust right now with our leadership? Like, is this what has spawned this? Because it just seems to have come out of nowhere, in my opinion. Okay.
Yeah, that's been there for years. Like you're a member of parliament representing a community on the East Coast or the West Coast or whatever.
Yeah.
And you think, man, I want to get reelected, and your party's in power. You're going to say, hey, don't turn off the fishing because you're going to throw all my all the people who vote for me out of work, and then I'm not going to get elected. And you're going to have someone from the other party sit in the House of Commons and not me. And so you see that happening a lot. But that's where I think there's some movement to move away from that and have local committees make these decisions at the local level. And that was the plan with that whole 30 by 30, where you have, water, 30% of a lake or 30% of the coastline sort of managed in a way for conservation and protected in a way for conservation. And that includes what kind of fishing is going to happen here, and and who's going to do the fishing, what kind of equipment is going to be used, and where can they go fishing, and and the rules become much more micro adjusted to fit the specific situation. You see that in Ontario with all the FN zones, right? We have all these committees just sitting down, the science is being read, but unfortunately First Nations communities aren't at those tables. They get the same presentations from MNR, but not at the same table, not at the same time. They're all getting access to the same science, but MNR is having to do double the work. We got to talk to these people, and then after that's decided, then we go to talk to these people, and we say, look, this is what's left, or this is what you're going to get. That's been decided already. So how do you want to handle this? Yeah. And people go, oh, you got a two-tiered, it's like there's two levels of your class A or class B, or I don't know how you'd put it, right? Like you're first in line or second in line. And I don't know, should it be like that? Or should we just try to get along and make decisions together?
I think Steve's advice is the best. I mean, at the end of the day, decisions should be made, and we should really encourage this to be the focus more so than anything else on what is best for the fish the fishery, the sustainability of the fishery.
Yeah.
If it's being pressured, if there are population concerns, if we're concerned about what is being taken, we make decisions based on that. And I think we've done a fairly good job. It may not be perfect, but we've done a fairly good job addressing all this. What is now happening to me is there's this movement towards, well, I'm more important than you are, and you got to go to the back of the line, and I don't think it should ever be like that. But again, I can't speak intelligently because I'm not a First Nations, a card-bearing part of the community. So I don't know. I don't know the struggles that they have had, and for me to sit here and suggest that I do, I'd be lying. But at the end of the day, I would like to think that respect for all is what should be pushed here. This should be at the forefront. And I respect that you need to make a living. I respect that you need to feed your community. And for that, I'm willing to say, okay, I don't need to take 4 fish home. I'll take 2. It's all about, I don't know, compromise. Or maybe I'm missing the boat. Mike has a great comment here. I'd like to see closed seasons on sanctuaries and closed for all groups. I have to agree. I do cringe when especially years ago when I was taking eggs out of walleye in the Napanee River, and for all those who remember back in the 90s when the OPP had to be called, well, there was a reason they had to be called. There was no compromise then. And it got ugly. It got really ugly. We got lucky that night that it didn't boil over. But as I said, like I don't want this to turn into a me, and I think that's where we're going. And
Oh
again,
yeah, the pendulum swung in the other direction, right? Like it
yeah,
used to definitely favored non-indigenous people for a long time, and now it's swinging in the other direction, and we're starting to feel like, hey, we're not favored anymore. In fact, we're actually we're second tier,
yeah,
and that's annoying, right? To have
yeah.
to feel like that, that we get leftovers and we don't get to do what other people do, and the other people are doing what we think is clearly not maybe beneficial to the fish stock. When you have a whole bunch of people going down to a walleye spawning beds in the spring and just spearing hens off the nests, right? But we go out and fish bass and off nests too, let them go, I guess. But
Yes.
so
That is- you're right.
and we catch salmon heading up rivers.
You're
We
right.
intercept salmon and steel heading up rivers. So we're not completely blameless either, right? So
No,
throw the first stone if you want, but I think this is where we need to have more conversations. And these
and
conversations have to
this
come.
is where it all comes. It's all about compromise. I know Erica is in the chat right now, and she is one that I highly respect because of her strong face to make sure that she fishes just like the rest of us do. She doesn't, even though she is a First Nations card-bearing member of that community, she doesn't go out of her way to I don't know, abuse the power that she has. When she was part of the CFN Fish Off, she abided by all the rules, and she does so on a regular basis. So there's a perfect example of the compromise. But at the end of the day, if it was a matter of her needing more fish to feed her community, I would certainly step back and say, hey, you can have my four daily limit. You can have my 2. Yeah. It's all about compromise.
Or let's all go catch some fish and have a fish to go fishing and for good to deal with some food insecurity issues and help people out, right? And support that. And I think there's I think most people want to do that, want to work together and collaborate, but I think when you have to give up and things, and you see other people benefiting from it, and you're losing out, it's hard to take. And but those are conversations that need to happen, and where people have to understand how it's happening, and not just politicians looking like they're caving in, or judges that look like they're out of touch with reality. I'm not saying that's happening, but we don't really, it has to be translated, and has to come down, and we have to understand all of this, and we have to sort of get along. We have to get along, find ways to get along. Lawyers, no one likes lawyers, and then they become judges and they make decisions that lawyers, argue for. And it's not always great. When it goes to that, when it goes to a court and the judges get involved, it's never great. It's never great. And wouldn't it be better if we could just avoid that,
Amen. Terry, it's in a perfect world from, I wouldn't say, let's just say a manager of the fish back in the day. I'm certainly not now, but I did have a stake back in the day, and I would agree, it would be in a perfect world awesome if we could have rotating lakes so that we could, somewhat protect, because of course we rely so much on natural reproduction that we could somehow, protect and enhance the reproduction in that body of water. Unfortunately, the other argument would be, well, now you're centralizing and you're concentrating the take to certain identifiable lakes. That might be more detriment than if everything's wide open. So there's an argument on both sides when it comes to that. But Terry, as I said, if I had my way, especially when it comes to, and I will only speak for walleye, it would be great to have rotating lakes where we could harvest off of certain lakes and allow others to just recoup through natural reproduction. That's a great, Mike. 100%. I know some natives that still buy a fishing license and abide by the same rules. Erica is one of them. There's quite a few of them in our CFN community that I'm very proud that they are and abide by the rules as if they're one of us, which I think is so cool. But
Yeah, I think the idea is that we all want to work in a system that's fair, that's managed using common sense, using science, and not politics, and not rights, based arguing. And look, I've grown up as a blind person in this country, in through employment equity and political correctness, and and all that crap, and I've never witnessed myself where someone says, oh, we have to have 17 of these types and 12 of those and 10 of those, and so we're going to go. I know that happens, I think, but I don't. We've never had, as far as I know, in Canada where people set quotas. Not like in the States where they've set quotas. We said, let's try better to balance things out so they look the way the world looks, so that when we look at our work office, it looks like it does in the community, so that sort of reflects what's in the community. And let's just, try to make it more realistic and better reflecting of reality. And I think that message is often lost, but I think that's what we want too in the wilderness too, right? We want when we look around and who's fishing, it should look like our community, not just our own, the people we want to go fishing with, and the ones, our family. It should look like our community. We should see everyone has a chance and everyone has access. It shouldn't be denied.
I agree. I will leave our segment with Coxben's comment here. I do agree 100% with it, while keeping sustainability and conservation at the forefront of the conversation without massive amounts of bureaucracy and hijacking for political and economic gain. I couldn't agree more, because unfortunately it kind of looks this way, doesn't it? Doesn't it kind of look like that's the road we're going down, the rabbit hole, as they say, that we're entering?
I think with the pressure from environmentalists and conservationists for government to do a better job, and the government's trying to cut back at the same time and think, oh man, if to do a better job, we're going to have to triple or quadruple the amount of funding and science and enforcement that goes on. And wouldn't it be nice if we could just cut that out of the budget?
Amen.
And then they kick it over and say, okay, you know what, let's just create a huge territory here. We'll call it we wanted to call it a marine protected area or something. Now let's call it a indigenous protected and controlled area, and you take over. And now we look like we're doing reconciliation, we're doing, restoration of rights, and we're handing it over to the best caretakers in the world, and we can feel confident that it's going to be handled properly, and everyone benefits. Everyone's, nature as well. Everyone's, we're checking off all these political boxes and making all these correct decisions. But in reality, I honestly think a lot of these governments are just doing it to get the hell out of the business because they don't want to do it anymore.
Well, that could be an argument as well, and I've heard that for many years being discussed. That it is painstaking. I wouldn't want to have to be a part of it in the way that they are. I don't envy them by any means, because of course, if you don't have that compromise, you don't have that respect. Then people are just they're all out for themselves. So I don't envy. Lawrence, as always, you always allow us to touch on some of the more controversial topics. This one is definitely one of those. We are going to have to keep a close eye on what happens in the future, because at the end of the day, when we put it in the court's hands, anything could happen. Anything could happen. And this is where I get worried. I love when we have workshops. I like when we have discussion groups and you get stakeholders from all different aspects of the industry, whether it be, commercial or recreation.
Mm-hmm. I think the lesson here is that if you want to be counted, if you want to have your access issues recognized, you need to step up. You need to stay. And I'm not saying step up on the riverbank or step up at the dock. Or on the lake. I'm saying step up, using the machinery of democracy that this country's built on.
Yeah.
And that means getting involved in some politics, getting involved in getting your voice heard in our organization. You saw that we just went through this out in British Columbia, and you know what? They effectively, in a nonpartisan way, said, hey, we're communities, we have rights, we have needs, we have businesses, we have families, we have societies, we have economies. Don't crush us. Let us, keep doing what we're doing, and help us do it in a way that makes sense for the fish, salmon stocks, and for the people and for everybody. And you know what? The government said, okay, all right, no change.
That's awesome.
And yeah, they said no change. So I think they won that one. I'm not saying they won over someone else, but I think they were heard.
Well, in the same state of Wisconsin, Pete Mania, who I speak with on a regular basis, they had a big concern when it came to fishing for muskie, or at least they opened up the opportunity to fish for muskie a lot sooner than they should. And a lot of muskie anglers, Wisconsin anglers, were very upset by that. And they lobbied the Wisconsin DNR, and it's been changed. It's been reverted. So the anglers' voice prevailed, and they got their way at it, and it made sense for the sake of the sustainability of the fishery. So we have the ability, but at the end of the day, everybody's got to listen, and everybody has to speak up, because at the end of the day, as I said, we leave it in the court's hands, and all bets are off.
Yeah, it's black and white. One's going to win and one's going to lose.
Absolutely.
Right? That's how our courts work.
Exactly.
Right? There's no a little line, and if you're just on one side of the line, you're just as big a loser as a person way down there. And if you're just above the line a little bit, you're just as big a winner as the person way up there. It makes no sense. It divides us, because we're all in the middle, and it divides us in these huge, you're a complete loser and a complete winner. And that's the problem with the courts. It doesn't work out fair at all.
No, you're 100% right. And in the end, we just spend a whole lot of unnecessary money. Lawrence, as always, my friend, thank you so much for allowing us the ability to discuss these controversial topics with you. At the end of the day, you're best suited for it, and you do.
These are just my opinions. And my ideas and thoughts. And it's not. I'm not saying that this is the law or this is the way it has to be, but it's just we're just expressing our ideas and kicking things around. Their opinions, and welcome to other opinions. That's all.
Absolutely. Well said, buddy. Well, again, thanks so much for your time. You have yourself a great week, and enjoy your May long weekend, my friend.
Thanks, you too, buddy. Thank you.
Right. Hopefully we'll see you back here on Monday. It all depends on what we decide as a group. That's what we do as a group. We listen to each other and we make compromise. So, but on that note, again, thanks so much for your time, Lawrence. We really appreciate what you bring to our community, and keep up the great work, pal.
Thanks, buddy. And thanks for all the feedback, everyone.
Right on. All right. We got Jay Barnucz coming up right after a word from his sponsor. Have a good night, Lawrence.
You too.
Max Scent is better because of its scent dispersion. It's that simple. It's a type of material that allows the chemicals we put in there to ooze out quicker, and it creates a larger scent field faster. That brings fish to the bait. And then, the perfect lure is always, they see it, they come close, they smell it. Since fish do not have arms, they test things with their mouths. So he puts it in his mouth, done. The scent and flavor just got him. FluxGill, its unique thing is that it has the holes in it, right? And it creates surface area that's way more than if that was a non-perforated bait. Why is that important? Surface area is important because the more water contacts that bait, the more scent is getting into the water and quicker. And that's why that amount of surface area will get you fish when it's tougher, but it'll also catch you more fish when it's not tough.
Jay Dog's in the house. How you doing, Jay?
Good, buddy. How are you doing?
Oh, fantastic. Well, listen, you had an extremely busy weekend, and we have a lot to get to. There's a lot that we have to discuss because I've got it all ready to go and queued up. So where we wanted to start was something that this is actually really cool, and I'm going to let you explain it because there's some significance to this. But this happened this past weekend, and a gentleman that's a little long in the tooth managed to prevail in a really cool situation and tournament on the Mississippi River.
Yeah, Tom Monsoor. So Tom's been fishing BASS events for, oh my gosh, forever. So Tom's in his 70s, and I think he's 77. And he there was a Bassmaster Open on the Mississippi River this past weekend. And after a young man by the name of Justin Yentner, he led the tournament, 3-day tournament, led it wire to wire. But on day 3, Tom tied Justin at 54 pounds. So for the first time ever, this has been discussed before. So everyone always asks, how does a fish off happen if there's a tie? And there's ways of ties to get broken. There's ties of, you might have a big fish as part of your bag. There's all kinds of tiebreakers, but sometimes it comes down to a fish off, or it's been talked about that. And this was the first time for a BASS event that's gone down to a fish off. And so how the fish off works is, after the tournament is basically, well, it's not finished, but after it wraps up, the 2 anglers are taken out, each in their own boat, and it's basically a 3-hour shotgun. First keeper wins. And what's interesting is that Justin went to the nearest spot, or at least what he thought where he could catch a fish. Tom said to himself, I'm going to go 15 minutes to my spot, but I know there's a fish there I can catch. And he got there and he caught the first keeper. So Tom Monsoor won. It was $11,000 in change US for finishing first, but it was a tie at 54 pounds. Very, very cool.
It is cool. Let's have the announcer make the final.
4 pounds even. The 2026 Mercury Bass Nation qualifier on the Mississippi River. Tom, congratulations, man. Awesome job this week.
Thank you. It was fun. This was fun. And thanks for coming.
Absolutely, of course, man. How about winning the first ever fish off right here for you this week?
You know, at 77, I've never had a fish off before. Isn't that unreal?
It's unreal, and I've never had one either, so it's a first for me too. How about that?
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Well, let's go ahead and make this thing official, Tom. Grab that trophy right there. Hold it high. He is your 2026 Mercury Bass Nation qualifier champion at the Mississippi River, presented by Lawrence, with 54 pounds even, Tom Monsoor.
Pretty cool. That is very cool.
It's a great story. Like, I came across that yesterday, and I'm like, wow, that is just a very cool story. And Tom Monsoor, like, not only is he an old guys, you got to cheer for old guys, but
absolutely,
like he's won some tournaments. Like, he is not new to doing well in tournaments, but he's 77 years old. Like, he's up there with Rick Clunn and Roland Martin and some of these other great anglers. So that was just very cool. That was just a very cool story.
Absolutely. We should probably have started the segment off recognizing those wonderful moms out there. It was Mother's Day weekend, this past weekend, and I know a certain somebody in your family was very busy with the mom. And I thought, when I saw this picture, well freaking done. That is just awesome. And tip of the hat to you, Trevor.
Yeah. So how this went down was, okay, so obviously I'm on the road again. So it's been a very busy couple weeks at our house. And it's Mother's Day. And just so for people realize, at our house, Mother's Day is not one day. It kind of rolls into the entire weekend, right? So we'll talk about what we did, what Steph and I did on the day before, which wasn't Mother's Day related, but it all kind of rolls into one. Anyways, so on Mother's Day itself, on Sunday, Heather had mentioned to Stephanie that she wanted to go to catch a brown trout. She's never caught a brown trout. And believe it or not, like, we have taken Heather fishing a ton, but it's never caught a brown trout. And so I said to Trevor, that's your challenge, man. That's what you got to do. So I had Trevor. I said, Trevor, you got about 4 or 5 hours. So, and Steph had to work on Sunday, which, you know, kids have part-time jobs. That's how it goes. So I said, I'll drive Steph to work. You got to take mom fishing. And he did. And he had, like, there was no plan. Like, he didn't think this through. Like, Scotty, I kind of threw it at him last minute. So it was kind of cool to see him. He had to make this work. And about 2 hours into this event, it was like a tournament almost. Like, it's kind of like a fishing tournament. 2 hours into the event, Heather got her brown trout. But then she goes and catches this brook trout. That's a native brook trout. That's a native wild brook trout from Norfolk County. That's somewhere 16 to 17 inches long. That's a big brook trout, man. Like, down where we live, there's lots of brook trout, but a lot of them are pretty on the small side. Like, you're talking 6 to 12 inches long. You don't see too many of like a 17-inch brook trout down our way. That is honestly an impressive fish. So
and especially
awesome.
To be native, like a non-stocked fish that is a
it's
resident.
a natural brook trout. And I know the body of water. I'm just, and it was caught, released alive after a photo, like, just amazing. So yeah, so not only did she catch a brown trout, but she caught, basically, to me, like I don't know if I've ever caught a brook trout in Norfolk, if I've caught a brook trout bigger than that one. That's an awesome fish.
That is.
So
Absolutely.
one of the girls I work with, Kelly, I sent her the photos today. Kelly and Heather are friends. And Kelly said to me, does your wife always look that good when she's out in the field? I said, you have to ask her how she does it, because she has if anyone sleepers notice, she's got her Terry Clark hat on. So that's her Terry Clark, something better to do. And then she's wearing fish earrings. Like, so Heather, it's like her and Steph just go, when we go fishing, if people should notice, they always, they dress the part. Trevor and I just put on whatever clothes are laying on the floor beside the bed, but they always dress the part. So fishing in our family is not just, and this is great. And I hope that I got a lot of comments from other moms and friends. And I hope that Heather's pictures inspire somebody to go fishing, because that's great. That's just a great day for mom and son, because son's moving to university soon. So that's kind of a cool memory for the two of them.
Awesome. Absolutely. Yeah. And I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen Heather in a hat. And something could be said, you know, a woman that wears a ball cap, she's, yeah. And
she does love a ball cap.
Heather,
like, when she fishes, when she goes fishing,
well.
She loves a ball cap. Yeah,
she wears it very well. Well, congratulations to that. And as I said, I always had a thing for Terry Clark, so I can appreciate the hat.
Yeah. Listen, I've never been a big country music fan, truth be told, but Heather's changed me with Terry Clark, because that Terry, not only is she a great person and a great singer, that woman loves fishing.
That's awesome.
Loves it. Like, and genuinely loves fishing. Like, it's awesome. So I've become a country music fan, or at least a Terry Clark fan. So there you go. Yeah.
So with that being said, of course, you and Steph were busy, and I've got the video queued up, because it looks like this was quite an event. And you do this every year. This is the Pike Derby down in Long Point, right, Jay?
Yeah, this is the annual Pike tournament. It's on the Saturday of Mother's Day weekend every year. It's a great event. There's usually, like this year, there was 56 teams. The weather's, I'm not going to lie, the weather's usually a bit questionable. It was sunny, but it was, you know, it was 20K gusting to 30K, like by the afternoon. So, and this is big water. So the anglers went out. It was honestly, so just so everyone knows, it's a 2 fish limit. So, and we actually arrange it so there's 2 big fish prizes. So first big fish, second big fish. And there's payouts, I want to say there's payouts down to 5th. But first place, I think, was $2,300 plus big fish. So, and usually first or second place who do well in the payouts also win big fish, right? Because that's just how tournaments go.
Right.
So biggest fish this year was, and these are Lake Erie fish, so these aren't giant pike, but the biggest fish this year was 12.15 for big fish. That was second place. And then first place. So second place for two fish was 19.51.
Wow.
And then first place, it was the Poyets, which they always are killing it in this tournament. They're so good. They know the bay so well, not just pike, bass, walleye. And they brought in 21.65 for their best two pike. So, yeah. So they got first place overall and second place for big fish. So it was awesome. But on top of that, Sandboy Marina, as you're going through the pictures, there was a big Happy Gilmore check right there.
Yep.
So they donated $300 to the Long Point Bay anglers.
Oh, wow.
So they took half the proceeds of the boat launch fees and donated it back to the Long Point Bay anglers. They've done that 2 years in a row. So this event has raised I think it's over $2,000 per year for the Long Point Bay anglers. And just so folks know, the Long Point Bay anglers have a running live release boat, and they run many events. Well, not run events. If you host a tournament in the Long Point area, you can hire the boat to come to your event to release your fish for you. They've been instrumental at events down our way, and this event is an annual fundraiser for their live release boat. They don't make any money on these events. All the money goes right back into the boat. The boat is run by all volunteers. No one's paid to run that boat. It's fantastic. And this year, for many years ago, Long Point Bay anglers had a membership drive, and it kind of faded away. And then insurance became an issue, Scotty. You can appreciate this. When you have these kinds of clubs, insurance becomes a problem. And a few of us suggested, why don't Long Point Bay anglers become an OFAH affiliated club to help with the insurance? And they did. And it took time, because if people buy a 3-year membership, you have to get rid of your members, not get rid of them, but you have to roll them over into OFAH members. Yeah. Anyways, so now it's been done. Insurance is less, and this year the OFAH had a booth at the event. So the Zone Club, a couple guys from Bothwell and Thamesville came. So this is like Thames River stomping grounds. It's great. I got to talk all about cool Southwestern Ontario stuff, and they were awesome. They came. And the Erie Bassmaster Junior Club came, and they helped run bags with fish. We had so much volunteers, but a big shout out to Stephanie, because she was my Vanna White again. She's my scorekeeper, so she does the magic marker on the board. She has the neatest printing of anyone that I know, and so she organized it, and then to the left of the screen, Jesse was there with the laptop entering the weights. So everything was done. So I'd yell out the weights. Stephanie would record on the board, and Jesse would write it in the laptop. It's fantastic. She did a great. It's a very high pressure job. You have a lot of anglers looking over your, we have caution tape up. You don't see to keep people out, because they're getting right in there. You know how anglers are.
Oh, yeah.
Give us space.
Absolutely.
So she handles it really well. So that was a great event. Fantastic afternoon in Long Point.
That a girl, Steph. Well, Tony's he's more partial to Shania.
Tony.
I can understand that, Tony. But I do have a thing for Terry Clark.
Yeah, like Tony. Unless I can see Shania driving her Crestliner by herself, trolling for pike, and catches a 12-pound pike in Long Point, and does a selfie with it. Listen. I love Shania. Okay, I get it, Tony. But second fiddle, bud. Second fiddle, and I mean that when I'm talking fiddles here. Okay.
Well, when we're talking fishing, it sounds like she doesn't hold a fiddle to anybody. Yeah. But to George's point, Berkeley, country music are all signs of the coming apocalypse. I don't think that's the proper ingredients, George. Myself, but
George. After what happened last week, you might be getting some Berkeley stuff at home. I might have to put together a special prize for George.
We are going to be talking about that coming up.
Talk about that.
Thanks, Gary, for chiming in, and perfect timing, my friend.
Yes.
We want to
Gary.
congratulate you on what you guys did this past weekend. Of course, Mississauga Bassmasters, as Jay
Awesome.
shared with us, we're out doing some cleanup work, and this is something that it's that time of season. Spring cleanup is something that everybody wants to do more around the house, but obviously the De Silvas took it out on the road. And I'm not sure what park it was that they cleaned up, but I think it's awesome.
So I think this was Island Lake, which is
Island Lake. Okay, cool.
Yep. So so Gary, thanks for sharing this stuff. I love it when this stuff gets shared, and I love sharing it. It's sometimes you got to roll up your sleeves and do these types of jobs. This time of year especially needs it. If any, dude, I'm working along the river, on the Grand River this week again. And there's just this time of year, there's so much garbage. There's so much garbage. I honestly, if I had some sterile gloves and I wasn't so busy with work at the time, like I'm just constant busy all day, I would pick up some of the crap. I've picked up some garbage, like some of the pop bottles and empties and stuff, but it's just, it's this time of year where the winter is gone and stuff is left. And so Gary and everyone from the Sauga City Club, thank you for what you did. That's fantastic. And that's a great example to set for so many other, not just youth clubs, all fishing clubs.
Amen.
And I'm not saying we should clean up people's messes, but let's be honest, it's kind of a necessary job sometimes to do that. So
100%.
Good job, guys.
Speaking of rivers, I wanted to do this for Ivano because he is someone that has been a part of our CFN community for a number of years and always points out when, he starts to see the lamprey move up the rivers. If he sees an anomaly when it comes to, maybe there's a dye that's been dumped inadvertently into the river. But something that has come in, it's very near and dear to his heart. I know Sonia, who's on the call as well, will appreciate that. We're going to be posting this with a little bit of a reminder to folks when it comes to Atlantic salmon. The whole idea is to have them reproduce naturally. So it is in their best interest. And I don't know if it's 100% illegal, but I'm going to ask you, Jay, is it illegal to keep an Atlantic salmon?
Geez, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either. But what Ivana wants us to do is encourage those like Sonia, who does on a regular basis, and most other CFNers, because we're all ethical anglers, they return them to the wild. For the sole purpose is that we want them to naturally reproduce, and they won't do that if we constantly take them. So they are starting to show up. Jay, we've talked about this, and throughout the years, they have become more and more prevalent in some of these rivers. I mean, they're still in small numbers, but they're starting to show up more regularly than before. And I think it's very, very encouraging to see this. Where they're necessarily coming from I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to think that it had a lot to do with the stocking that was done years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome to see they are starting to show up. This is a tank of an Atlantic salmon. I commend Ivano for bringing it to our attention, to bring it to others' attention that, it's in the best interest of the fishery to return them so that they can reproduce.
So I'm doing a quick scan here, and it does vary a little bit zone by zone, Scotty.
Okay.
But looking here at because Atlantics are highly variable all year, all around, right? So zone 7, zone 9 up in the north. So we're talking like Sault Ste. Marie. Limits sport fishing is 1, conservation is none. We're going to get into, I might as well just go through this. Yep, zone 9 is the same. What else we got here? That might actually help if I do that. Zone 17. So zone. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so they have special limits on in the North Bay area because where they're stocked, Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so because there are populations that are stocked, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so every zone has unique. A lot of the zones are sport fishing is allowed 1, and then conservation is 0. Zone 15 is closed all year. So yeah, it's even though it's it's nice to release them.
Yeah.
Zone 16 closed all year. Fourth Saturday. That's weird. Zone 16 is 4th Saturday in April to 30th of September. That's trout season.
Wow.
But the limits are 0 and 0. So you can't fish for them anyways.
That's interesting.
Why would it be 0 and 0?
I don't know. Good question.
Okay. Well, anyways.
Is that a catch, photo, release? No, because you can't possess. No, you can't possess. No.
Same with zone 17. So that's the Lake Ontario tribs, Scotty. A lot of the Lake Ontario tribs.
Yeah.
It's 0 and 0. And zone 20, though, I know zone 20 is unique. Zone 20 is allowed one. You're allowed to keep 1, but it has to be greater than 63 centimeters, dude. That's big.
That's a big fish.
So a lot of those bigger Atlantics won't be 63 centimeters.
No, this one obviously is. I would guess that it is because it looks like based on his hand placements.
Yeah,
that would be one that you would be able to keep. And perhaps maybe once they get that big, there might be concerns that they become sterile. They're not productive anymore. Who knows? I'm not in the business to know, and I wouldn't want to suggest that I do.
So the message is clearly, though, you have to check your zone.
Absolutely,
it's highly variable. It's either 1 or none, and it depends on whether it's sport fishing or conservation. And the dates are variable too. So people should check their zone regulations because there's different populations of Atlantics. There's lake run from the Great Lakes, but there's also some inland populations as well, prior from stocking. So, yeah.
So I want to thank Ivano as well as Sonia. The two of you have done a fantastic job helping with this biggest problem. Like, thanks so much for bringing it up because you're bang friggin' on. The problem, of course, is they are hard to identify, or they get misidentified for other fish like a brown trout, maybe even a rainbow or steelhead. But at the end of the day, they do get misidentified. And because we don't see them on the regular, people don't necessarily know what they are.
So George's comment is important. You can fish for them, but can't harvest them. So that's why it's 0-0, but still a season. So it allows for a picture. Okay. And that makes sense to me. So we're good.
Awesome. You should, yeah. Well, it's, as I said, it's I've had you guys not agree. Interesting. That's really interesting.
But if you're following the regs, you're following the regs. Like that's all you have to care about, right?
Yeah.
So, like if someone disagrees with you or not, that's not on you. That's on them. So,
well, I want to thank everybody that's put a comment here in our show, in our stream, because I'm going to go back and make sure that when we do make this post tonight, that I do identify those comments like Mike made about understanding what you're looking at.
Yeah,
because that's very important. Mike also mentioned about the zones. At the end of the day, Sonia, Ivano, tip of the hat to you guys because you brought to light, you have exposed that there is this Atlantic fishery. And we need to take care of it. So awesome stuff. Really appreciate that.
And there are a few comments in the chat about Atlantics are a little hard to identify. They're very similar to brown trout. And in fact, both species are pretty variable, but there are some tricks to it. But we won't get into it tonight. But it's you got to be careful as well. Don't get yourself in trouble. So
100%. Well said.
Yeah.
I want to show something to you. This was Gavin reached out to me, and the product name, the brand name is Recast Fishing. When he came out initially with his product, it was basically the reclamation of plastics in our oceans, and they had come up with a technology across the pond to not only harvest this plastic, but to be able to condense it and create molds for baits. And I thought it was a really novel idea when it was first introduced. Gavin has now taken it one step further. And I think by taking this next step, he is inevitably pushed the bar that much higher to where others may have to take notice and have a certain aspect of this in their product line. Have a listen.
Hey everyone, I'm Gavin. I'm the founder of Recast Fishing. I started Recast in 2021. I was out on a camping trip and I noticed just how much plastic waste makes its way into our waterways. So I came up with the idea of starting an eco-friendly tackle company. Every spring, anglers get their gear ready for the season ahead. And this year, we've got something new and exciting to add to the tackle box. Introducing the new Bio Series lineup from Recast Fishing. Crankbaits, jerkbaits, poppers, and rattlebaits, all made from plant-derived and biodegradable materials. The Recast Bio Series are meant to degrade at the bottom of the lake if lost, not in your tackle box or on your line. Recast is already available in over 20 tackle shops across Ontario and growing, and a portion of every sale helps support waterway cleanups. Whether you just need 5 lures for your tackle box or 500 for your tackle shop, the new Recast Bio Series is ready for the season. Now is the time to get ready. Check out the link in our bio to learn more, and be sure to follow our page for more updates and fishing content.
Is that not cool or what?
That's pretty cool, man.
That is
very
so
cool.
Cool. I when I first saw it, when he first shared it with me, he was a little I don't want to say hesitant to when do I post it? Should I post it now? Anyway, he gave me the green light on the weekend. He said, Scotty, post away, and I really want to see the reactions that folks have had. Listen, the feedback has been off the charts. And as I said to Gavin, you may have forced some companies to look at this as an option. It won't have to be their entire product line.
No.
But this might be an aspect for them to say, yes, we endorse this. We applaud this. And it's a great initiative. And Gavin, I want a huge tip of the hat to you for making this such a reality. And I think it's very, very cool when it comes to keeping our waterways clean.
Well, I've met Gavin he had a booth at the Sportsman Show, I believe, this year and last year. And I'm just looking on his website. So he actually has, the Recast Fishing and their bio baits, they actually are available at a lot of shops that I shop at.
Exactly.
So Baitcasters in Ottawa area. I'm not going to list them all, but Bill's Bait, Hamilton, Get Fishing, Gourd Shop in Peterborough, Angling Sports in London. By the way, they've been catching walleye in the Thames this week. So I think this late spring is good walleye fishing for those in zone 16. Like, heads up, guys, girls, pay attention.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Where else are they? Nice. Yeah. He's in a bunch of shops and online too, but still a lot of shops. That's great. Very cool.
That sold it for me. The disintegration of the bait underwater like that sold it for me. It's an eye-catching segment to that video, and it was money. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, holy smokes, Gavin, you're onto something, buddy.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of advancements in biodegradable. Let's face it.
Yep.
Like, stuff gets left behind in the water. We don't want it, right?
Yep.
And we've often tried to tell anglers, like, you got to clean up your mess. And they're not doing it. A lot of anglers don't do it deliberately, but things get lost, right? So there are some soft plastic companies. Even Berkeley Gulp is biodegradable to a point. But I do find that, a lot of products aren't. And this is pretty cool if we can even get hard plastic baits to be biodegradable.
Amen.
So, yeah.
Mark, you bring up a great point when it comes to gulp. Yep, I do agree with that. They do dissolve eventually, especially when you take them out of water.
Yeah.
I made that mistake one too many times. I don't know.
Have good scissors, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's so true. I don't know of any other baits that do that one like recast and gulp for that matter.
Yeah, I can't think of any offhand. I remember when Chris Hockley, who's with Normark and Rapala, what used to be a Pure Fishing. I remember a few years ago, we had a big conversation about biodegradable baits. In fact, actually, I had a conversation with one of our old friends, named from way back, Lonnie King, a few years ago. We were talking about.
Holy smokes!
And
wow.
Lonnie called me, and I've known Lonnie 25 years. And Lonnie called me, and we were shooting the breeze about biodegradable baits, and he was trying to do an article on it. And if you know Lonnie, he is so well read, like nothing gets past him. He's a sponge of information, like that guy. Like a lot of us are, but Lonnie takes it to a new level. Anyways, yeah, we talked about it, and he was but his problem was, I'll get to my point. There was a lot of companies but no one. There were very few biodegradable baits. That was the issue, right? So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Niagara Outdoorsman, wasn't that his show?
Yeah, Niagara Outdoorsman. Oh yeah.
I loved that show, man. I loved that show.
There's a certain vintage of angler in Ontario that I love dropping Lonnie's name to, like a random name drop. I'll just be like, remember Lonnie King? One of my recent name drops, and I'm friends with Lonnie. I love Lonnie. Like I wish he didn't move to Ottawa, because I would still fish with him more. We used to ice fish a lot together, actually. Recently we've been hanging out with the Petters the last couple of years, right? And I'm thinking to myself, Mark's a pretty savvy angler. Like he's been fishing Niagara area like his whole life. So one day I'm like, remember Lonnie King? And Mark's just like, oh, Lonnie King. Oh yeah, Lonnie. Like I love it. It's just the same reaction you gave me, Scotty. Like that's just.
Oh, I love this show. Listen, I loved a lot of fishing shows back in the day, but there was something about that grassroots approach. It wasn't flashy. It was just done with a whole bunch of information. I don't know if it's available still online, if you can go to YouTube and view it. But I highly, highly recommend, because a lot of what Lonnie shared back then can be used now and more so now than ever.
It was all Niagara region.
Yeah.
Like basically it was like, I think as far west he would go would be the Grand.
Yeah.
And then everything else was east of there. And it was big lake, small lake, shore. And one thing about people don't realize about Lonnie is that Lonnie was like one of the pioneers. Like he used to know how to milk tournaments. He won so many Molson big fish contests, like those old contests. Like he won a boat. He won a boat from, I think it was Molson big fish and those in fishermen. Remember those in fishermen contests?
Mm-hmm.
He won a bunch of those. He was the original, to me, the OG in my life multi-species angler.
I agree.
He was targeting red horses and stuff long before we even knew what red horses were, Lonnie.
Well said. He's the one that introduced me to a slip bobber. I know a lot of people said, well, didn't you watch In Fisherman? They were using, but the way he explained it, the way he showed how it was tied, it was awesome. It was, and as soon as I figured it out, slip bobbing for leeches, slip bobbing with worms, it was so well said.
Check George's chat. George, you're the best. There you go. Lonnie just drops out of the sky. Lonnie, I love it. And here's the thing about Lonnie. He's not active on social media. He's not, but he's paying attention. He's still Lonnie, dude. I love it. I should email him and ask him how he's doing. That is great.
He was I remember at the spring fishing and boat show, he was at a booth, and this was very early on. I want to say not my career, if you will, but my place in the industry. Yeah, and he was so, oh my Lord, I've never felt so welcomed by someone immediately and that early in the industry as I was Lonnie. And I took the time and I said, dude, I'm not just saying this because you're in front of me. I love your shows. I hope you never stop doing your shows. They are they're the best on TV, in my opinion.
Yeah. And this was cable access television. Like,
Yeah.
I know people of a certain age won't even know what the hell I'm talking about, but this was cable access television of its finest. Like, and Lonnie made the most of it. He really, truly did. So,
Well, if you're
shout out
talking to Lonnie, can you tell him this? And for those who, I'm dating myself, those who know what a beta tape is, I have at least 20 of his episodes on a beta tape downstairs.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Beta. Beta.
Oh.
Do you know the other day I had to explain to my son what an 8-track was? Like, that's almost the same vintage, a little older, but not that much. That is funny.
I want to know, share something with you, and I do want your opinion. Speaking of, dropping out of wherever the sky and having an opinion and being aware.
Yeah,
I think folks, when it comes to social media, Facebook, Instagram, or any kind of platform, we are seeing an element starting to, rear its I don't want to say ugly head, but it could be ugly, and that is the introduction of AI. We have spoke about it from the editors, my inner circle, if you will, Steve Walt, myself, because when I posted this past Wednesday, which is a real picture, and then that is the AI version of it, I immediately became concerned about what content we're going to be sharing on CFN.
Yep.
Before I discuss what we have come up with, I want your take on what AI is going to bring or do to the fishing industry.
Yeah, man, AI, people have to realize that AI is just, okay, so this is my interpretation of AI. And for the average person, it's just a way for, it's just a portal that streamlines our questions. Like, so I could go to Google and find the same information. It's out there. It's just mining that data for you off the internet. So when it comes to anglers, okay, so we might have to, with pictures is different. Information wise, let's talk about just general information. It's going to be helpful, man. I'm telling you. Like, but people have to know how to fact check. Like, that's the thing. So you and I have talked about this. So AI, I can use I've used AI for work. I have. But I will ask it for citations and references, and I will follow up on information that it tells me all the time. I do not take it verbatim at all. But people do. But this is no different than people taking, how is AI different than, how do I want to say this? So when you have AI, like, you're watching a reel, it could be a reel about anything, Scotty, and you might take it like it's clickbait. It's clickbait. That's what I'm saying. It's clickbait. We have to be careful of that. And so how do you and we'll go back to fishing, how do you as an angler manage that information? That's going to be up to the individual angler. But I think sometimes it's going to be a challenge for a lot of anglers to sift through it. But I tell you that AI is going to be very helpful for a lot of fishermen. It truly is.
Agreed. And when it comes to your perspective and you're into the industry, I think the sky is the limit when it comes to how it's going to help us. It's going to be able to problem solve in situations because it's already done. The whole equation, if you will, or the whole schematic in its head. Whereas it's going to take us forever to do research and come up with the same theory. When it comes to content, and Sonia, I really, really do appreciate that comment, because we are right off the bat said we better pump the brakes here for a second, because what it takes away from is the authenticity of the photo. And what we don't want to do, obviously we want to bring to light the wonderful fish that we have in Canada, the wonderful anglers we have in Canada, but what we don't want to take away from is the authenticity. So I was talking to Richard Dunlop on the weekend, who said to me he asked AI to increase the size of a fish, a bass, I believe it was, that his grandson was holding. And instead of it being a 1.5 pound smallmouth, it became this 4.5, 5 pound fish. And he said, Scott, you would really have to look closely to see the difference.
Yeah.
That's scary.
And George's comment here, computers generate wrong answers, but AI makes you believe it's true. That's right. That's exactly it. Like, one thing I hate about AI is how it kisses my ass. Sorry for my language, but like, I'm just asking a question. Yeah. And it's like, oh, what a great question. And it makes you believe it's true. Because I've actually called out, I've done this several times where they've sent me information and I've said, send me a citation for that, what you stated, or citations, plural. They'll send me citations. I'll go through them. And it's like, that what you said is not true. What you said is not true. And I'll copy the sentence and paste it back at it. And like, that is not true. So you said this is true and it's true, but you said this is true, it's not true. And so I don't want to get arguments with AI, and I'm not spending a lot of time doing this, but understand people have to be aware. But the trouble is that, Scotty, not as many people think objectively like we do. So people will be fooled easily. I think that AI is, for when it comes to social media, it's going to drive some people away because you don't know what's real anymore.
Exactly.
And I don't think that's the worst thing to happen, truthfully.
No,
I don't think that's a bad thing.
I never thought of that. I've never looked at it like that. That's interesting.
Because you don't know what's like, is that my son or is that just AI walking around behind me?
AI.
It's AI.
It's not here.
AI. I do appreciate, Sonia, you said it. Yeah, I love the beautiful, authentic content too.
Yeah.
So I just want to clear this all up by saying we are going to use AI. We are going to be able to enhance some of the stuff that we're going to promote, whether it be events, whether it's ours or others. If we're going to try and sell something or feature something, we will use AI. But when it comes to actual fish pics, I can assure you we are going to keep it as authentic as possible. So if we're going to lose people because of that, because they want to see the AI generated edits, this might not be the place for you. But if you want to have good, wholesome, authentic content, I can guarantee you that is.
So Scotty, maybe when I do love the edits you guys do, man. And I think it's good. Maybe put a disclaimer on there, AI generated.
We are going to do exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that, dude. Because then it's exactly saying, like, and it's not fully AI generated. Like, it's not completely taking it and misshaping it, but you've used AI to do an edit. It looks cool for sure. People love it, man. But I think maybe a little disclaimer in the bottom and with the CFN logo and being like, AI generated or something, not all AI generated, but you know what I'm saying? I'll let you and the team decide how to do that. But I think that's probably a responsible thing to do, Scotty. I just thought about that now.
Yeah, we talked about that. And Steve brought up a great point. For the number of impressions and the people that actually see it, do we really have to go down that road? But as I said, I value your input, and I thought the same as you that perhaps maybe we should put a disclaimer that it's AI enhanced, just to show that we have put it through more than just a regular filter. That it was a computer that came up with that concept and that edit. Because I'm telling you, dude, mind blown at what this is a powerful entity.
But it can be used for positive things, though, man. That's the thing. Like, we don't want to dwell on the negatives. Like, we can promote, but let's look at it. Just the edits. We're talking CFN edits.
Yeah.
An AI enhanced picture.
Yeah.
Like George mentioned right there.
Exactly. AI enhanced.
There's nothing wrong with that. And you're sending an AI enhanced picture. You're not making the fish look bigger or smaller. You're just spicing up the picture a little bit so it looks cool. And that picture is going to resonate with people in terms of promoting fishing and the outdoors. I think there's a positive there, man. Right? So
Richard, you're bang on, dude. Absolutely. And we could not have come up with that poster better than what AI came up with for the hoodie. So
Right.
you're bang on right now. This, I'll tell you, man. Oh, thank you so much for sharing this audio. This is what Steve, Walter, and myself, we live for. And I hope, I know Steve had to take off early, but I hope he comes back and listens to the end of this. And I will make sure that he does, because this will bring a tear to his eye. This is what we love. This is how we're thanked. It's great to hear what you're saying, Trevor, oh my God, Jason, about the edits and how you appreciate them. But at the end of the day, this is the true compliment that we get. We don't look for anything other than people sharing the edits that we do. And Steve, that's going to bring a twinkle to his eye to see that.
Dude, we have, and I'll tell you guys too. I can think of several of our friends, Trevor's friends, kids he grew up with. And this is going back, he's 18 now. So we're going back when he was 14, 12 years old. When we first started hanging out, Scotty, you and I, 6 years ago. And you guys have done so many great edits of not just of us, but of my friends' kids out fishing with us. And once in a while we get reminded from a parent, it's usually from a parent saying, that photo that one mom calls it, remember the time that Reese was on the magazine cover that you did, that picture that you sent in? Like, she calls it the magazine cover, dude. So like it honestly, it's loved. Those edits you guys do is loved by so many people. Like it's just, hey man, it's the truth. So
it is a labor of love. We love doing it. We love hearing these, and this is what keeps us going is stories like that. But Sonia, again, you made an older man. I don't want to say an old man, but an older man very happy tonight by posting that. That is friggin' awesome, because I know he doesn't know that. That's so cool. All right, I know we got to get going, so we got to wrap this up. But before we do, I think it's very, very important that we show the kind of community that we have. I think this was on full freaking display last week when we posted, both you and I agreed that the answer was first answered by it's Ben Cox, but Coxben is what he goes by on social media.
Yep.
This is the kind of gentleman he is. This is the kind of group, the Kayak Bass Canada. He reached out to Big Jim McLaughlin and said, Big Jim, I don't have Scott's contact information, but I just want to let you know, I didn't answer the question first. I answered it correctly, but I wasn't the first to answer it.
Right.
And he screenshotted this to show this to Jim. This is what he showed him. He said, George was ahead of me. In fact, Joe was ahead of me. So because of his honesty and again, we always want to pay respect to George because he brings a lot to our community as well. But based on those answers and how they were chronologically, we decided to enter both George for being the first and Coxben for being honest.
That's awesome.
So congratulations, guys.
That's great.
It was great to see. So without further ado, I will let you pose the question this week.
What was the winning weight that was a tie in the Bassmaster Open this past weekend? What was the winning weight? And ended up being a tie. Two anglers got the same weight. What was the weight that caused the tie? How much?
It's funny because it wasn't long, especially last week, that the answers popped up.
I know. I was impressed. Oh. Dang.
And usually I have to say this, Mike usually leaves early. He doesn't usually stick around. And the fact that he stuck right to the end, may have just paid off for you. Look at that.
There we go.
Awesome stuff. Jay, I'll let you go. I know you're on the road, you're working hard, and the elements take a beating at times. So I'll let you be because it's only going to get warmer as the week goes on.
Yeah, man. There's frost warnings. I got the base layer ready to go tomorrow morning. Dude, it is May 12th. I'm putting a base layer on tomorrow morning.
Wow, incredible.
But the water temperatures are still like 13, 14 degrees.
Yes.
Celsius. Like, it's cold, but it's not that cold. It's just, we're just below seasonal. But yeah, I'm tired of it. Bring on some heat. Bring on the heat.
Right on. Well, listen, you and Trevor get some sleep. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, as you always do. And thanks for all you do, pal. Couldn't
buddy.
do any
See
of
you
this
guys
without
next
you.
week.
Right on. You take care. All the best. All right. Well, that is the end of our show. I want to thank everybody for sticking around for as long as you did. We will get the correct answer posted on Thursday. It popped up pretty quick, and it's just because you guys pay such close attention to what we do. Again, we have so many events, so many things that are going on within our CFN community. It sometimes becomes a little overwhelming, especially when we make posts. So I want to thank everybody for going through and reading all the posts from top to bottom, because it just helps when it comes to providing clarity for these events and getting folks engaged, so that maybe we don't always have to be the ones to explain it. You can explain it for them as well. We're going to get Mike on here a little bit more often. We are going to have a power hour this Wednesday. Danny and myself, especially, we're going to be talking about the upcoming NCOO weekend series that is happening this weekend, May long weekend. It's the first event of 4. There's going to be a championship that's involved with that as well. So it's very competitive, and it is open to the entire province of Ontario. Not to mention, of course, the Compre Conquer All Challenge, which starts May 30th. We need you folks to register. We've got a good handful of folks over, we shouldn't say a handful. We got a whole boatload of you so far, and we just want to make sure that everybody gets registered, pre-registered, so that when it does get uploaded to the app, because as it was mentioned in the comments, it is not uploaded to Anglers Atlas just yet. That is where you need to go. You will see the link there. Make sure you register. It's about 4 or 5, maybe 6 questions, and that's it. And then we can pre-register you through the app and make sure that you're signed up for it. The prizes from Shimano continue to filter in. We've got lots of Shimano stuff to give away. Lots of great things happening in the CFN land. And I want to thank all of you for sharing, caring, and being a part of the movement that is CFN, because it is something that you could tell I'm very proud of, and I know those like yourselves who are involved with it and a part of it as well are very proud of it too. So with that, I want to bid you farewell. Enjoy your night, enjoy your Tuesday, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday during the Power Hour. It is CFN, baby. Love you all. Take care. Peace. Dave, it's up to you, babe.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.